Hello and welcome back. We're in my wormery again, and today this bin is going to get harvested for castings, and the worm population that's contained within the bin is going to be relocated. They should be over there on the other side due to a horizontal migration that's been going for a couple months now. The worms will be moved into this new bin here. The new bin was created 2 or 3 days ago. It's pretty much your run-of-the-mill bin, and it's all set to go. It was just covered to allow a little bit of moisture to condense and moisten the top layer of leaves, which it has done nicely. So got a nice consistent moisture level. I tipped it to the side. No water pooled up in the corner, so I think it's perfect. So let's get the gloves on and get to work. Unlike previous migrations, usually it starts off with getting the sifter out, but that's going to be stage 2. In this case, since I set up the horizontal migration, I'm starting with simply just trying to scoop out a large chunk of the population as a mass from this far end and move them over in stage 1, and then I'll have the opportunity to go through the remainder of the material in the conventional way using the sifter to separate the worms and the castings using the old-fashioned screening method. So we'll start right off with getting we'll get the worms out of here and get them in there, and then we'll set up for the sifting process after that and do the remainder of the work in phase 2. So, all right, got the gloves on and we'll get right to it. We're going to pull the worms from this side and we're going to drop them right into the bin here. So let's bring the camera a little bit closer and aim the light down at our subject. All right, every little bit helps, right? Let's see how that does. Alrighty, let's go. Okay, so I'm assuming that I'm going to have to probably take about a quarter of this, or maybe even a third of it, somewhere between a quarter and a third of the whole bin, in order to get where the most highest concentration of worms are, right in here. In this most recent couple months is that the frequent feedings that I've been doing and the high volume frequent feedings in all my bins has completely solved any sort of moisture related issues that I've had. I guess more specifically, I've always found that my bins were a bit more dry than I would like, but with a plentiful supply of food and a lot of worm activity, I just haven't had any sort of similar problems to that lately at all. So this is actually peel, it's actually food. I'm going to leave that right where it is. Alright, I think we've dug deep enough. I think it's time to start relocating some worms and get phase 1 complete. I can feel all kinds of chunks of food in here, which is perfect. And it does seem like I carved about 1/3 of the way in, or even maybe even more, but I think this is what feels right. You can even see a whole bunch of melon seeds in here. So let's follow along with the camera too when we go into the new bin. Let's see what it looks like. Seems like a nice amount. Okay, well, let's let them settle in, and then we'll get another batch of them over onto the other side of the new bin. I think we're going to have a lot of happy customers in this bin. So let's flip it around and get the other half of them in here. And we can move on to stage 2 of the process. Okay. So once again, we'll scoop them out and move them over. Well, I think that's about it for the phase 1 of the migration. I can still see some guys trying to get themselves beneath the surface. But for the most part, I'm going to consider phase 1 as complete, so I think it's time to move on to phase 2. But before we do that, we should probably we should christen this bin. It's official now since it's got inhabitants. It's got a worm population now. It also deserves to get a label. I'm going to change the format of how I've been writing the labels. It's going to say 2018 July 23. A little bit more readable. Okay, that makes it official. On to stage 2. Let's get this out. Just to recap what I did there, I got rid of the new bin. I tried to I got the Sifter, the filtering mechanism here, which the way that works, it'll capture anything that's not really fully composted yet, or any chunks of bedding that are not broken down yet. Capture all this sort of stuff, and maybe even some worms that get caught up in the process. And check him out, he's so funny. Let's see what happens. So what's going to happen is we're going to scrape the castings off the top layer over into this section. This will give us a quick visual confirmation that there's no that there are no worms in it. And then we'll scoop it up in order to separate the fine complete castings from any material that's not yet broken down. And at the end we'll be left with one final lump of material into which all the worms that are remaining have burrowed down into. This stuff over here is dry and crumbly, and didn't even see that many worms in it, and I could see why now, because I've completely even left this uncovered at times to let the moisture evaporate from it to a certain degree to continue to make the feeding zone the most appealing place in the bin for the worms to be. So this will be interesting to see. I wonder how many worms are left. We'll start into the screening process. Might be easier actually if I spin this around the other direction. And probably just fast forward through most of it, and then get back to populating the new bin with the remainder of the population that we bring over from here. All right. Okay, cleaning is done. This stuff can go back into another active bin. We'll just simply add it to the active bin that we already added the other worms to. The sifting process is done. We'll just add the last of the compost that we collected to the collection. And at this point, I think we're okay to proceed to the addition of these remaining worms into the other active bin. So let's go get that other active bin and let's complete phase 2. Okay, so here we are. So I think we're ready to go. I'm just going to do this in one felt swoop. I'm going to take all of these guys and dump them right in. I'm not going to do it in 2 waves like I did earlier. Want to call phase 2 complete. Let's finish it up. I'm trying to think of what the easiest way to do this would be. How about if we just pour it out? Let's try that, see how it goes. It's all very loose and dry. You can already see from here it is teeming with worms, pretty much loaded with worms. Ooh, look at that, nice concentrations of them all bundled together. So let's let these guys get acclimated to their new home, and then we'll cover them up. We'll go ahead and we'll cover them up with some of that uncomposted material that didn't get done, and we'll be finished. Other than any lingering cleanup that still has to be done. It's hard to say how many worms we've got in this bin. I'd be definitely interested in hearing people's opinions on that in terms of guesstimating how many worms we just launched here. I'd love to hear people's ideas as far as quantity. So please enter a comment and give me your best guess at how many worms we just migrated here. I think everything that we came to see here has pretty much happened. The ultra exciting portion of the process of cleaning everything up afterwards, I'll spare you. I'll take care of that off camera. So with that, I'm just going to say thank you for taking the time to sit here and watch my worm migration and compost harvesting. Hope you enjoyed it. I definitely did. Definitely cool to see how many worms were in this bin. Very active bin. And I think this new bin is going to be off to a terrific start with this many worms. So I'm going to have to add it to my feeding schedule and continue feeding the way I've been, the way they're used to. Keep encouraging the growth of the population. So if you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. Even feel free to subscribe to the channel if you like. There's always content like this coming up. So if you want to see more, being subscribed is the best way to ensure getting notifications of updates. So that's it for now. Thanks again for popping in, and have a great day. Take care.